Hey there, my name is Allison Bixby, and I'm really excited to be joining you at your instructor's request to talk about college writing and APA style. Quick intro to who I am. My name again, Allison Bixby. I have a master's in composition and rhetoric, which is just a fancy way of saying writing. I've been a writing instructor, tutor, and editor for over 14 years. I currently live in Columbia, South Carolina, but I did spend 5 years in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is where I got my start as a writing tutor with EMU students back in 2013. My writing philosophy: I believe that everyone with the right guidance can develop strong and effective writing skills. I don't care what your background is. I don't care how you feel about writing. My goal is never to make you love it, but my goal is to make you a more confident and effective writer. So today we're going to overview academic writing and APA style in about 20 to 30 minutes. There's no way I can teach you everything I would want to teach you, but I can give you some foundational concepts and some additional resources that will help you as you progress in your studies at EMU. So, what is academic writing? What is college writing? I want you to think of it as a conversation that seeks solutions and new ideas. Yeah, it's not a dialogue face to face like a typical conversation, but academic writing should be a response, your perspective to other people's ideas on the topics that you're studying. It really is that simple. Now, there are some specifics about college writing that make it a little bit different than, say, magazine writing or blogging or something like that, right? It's based on logic and reason. So that's going to mean research. You can't just put your ideas out there and say, well, this is what I believe. It has to be well thought out, researched, and backed up by some evidence, okay? Doesn't mean people can't disagree with you, but it does mean that it's backed by research, it's logically ordered, and you've applied some reasonable thought to it. That's what's going to get the conversation going and sustained in the academic world. That's the content piece of it. The style piece of it is that it has to be written clearly, with effective organization, and in a formal style. When I say formal style, I don't mean overly long sentences and super complicated words that nobody really understands. In fact, that's kind of the opposite of clear writing. When I say that academic writing is formal, I mean that it follows standard grammar conventions in the English language. And I know that gets a little freaky for some people, but trust me, I've never met a student whose grammar issues I couldn't help them develop better skills out. Because the truth is, most of us really only struggle with maybe one or two issues when it comes to grammar. And that same issue comes up again and again and again. But I can help you learn to identify it, and even beyond that, strategies to make sure that it gets corrected so that your writing is as clear and formal and effective as possible. Now, one of the first things you need to think about when it comes to writing for college is your writing process: planning, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing. Those are the 5 steps. Don't think of them as linear and one always right after the other. Think of it as recursive or circular. You can move in and out of the different steps at different times in different ways, again and again. And that for some people is a little unnerving because it makes writing ambiguous and messy. So you got to be able to embrace that for your writing to really go to the next level. And the idea there is your habits determine your outcomes, and your writing habits determine how effective your outcomes will be with your writing projects. And so I really want you to think about, what are my habits when it comes to planning? Do I have any? What about drafting? What about revising and editing? Do I even understand what those terms mean and what they are? Hopefully so. And if not a big deal. That's something that you can always work with a writing tutor on to develop those strategies and habits. In fact, I am going to email your instructor a handout that's basically a toolkit for developing strategies to use in each of those steps, because the more effective you are in each of those pieces of the writing process, the better outcome you're going to experience in the end. And the more confidence you'll gain and the less frustrated you'll be, which are huge wins in my book when it comes to writing. Now, there are a couple of things that I think make academic writing what it is. One of the very first ones is a thesis statement. So let me share my screen with you, and we're going to talk about what a thesis statement is briefly so that we're all on the same page about that. Okay, so look at this. A successful thesis statement provides readers with the main claim of your paper. It tells readers what your paper will be about, and it makes a claim that people can agree or disagree with. That's the nature of a conversation that we were just talking about, right? People are going to agree with pieces and parts, but not all. And that's what really makes for good dialogue, and ultimately what produces new solutions and really great ideas, is when people can agree and disagree and find new ways of thinking about ideas. It's always a statement, not a question. It's written in your own words. It's not a quote from another source or another person. And it almost always appears at the end of your introductory paragraph. That's where academic readers are going to expect to find this anchor statement that gives them the big picture of what your perspective is and how you're going to lay that out in your paper. So you need that thesis statement there. Once you have a working thesis, and keep in mind that a thesis is always available to change and to rearrange and to develop and kind of take on new direction at any point in the writing process, and that's okay. Kind of hold it loosely, but once you have that, you can then move into figuring out, how am I going to write this paper? I'm going to fly through some of these slides, and okay, we're going to go through all of this, and here we go. I wanted to show you how to write a paper in 6 steps. You have your thesis, great. Write a word outline. What are the major concepts in 1 or 2 words that you're going to hit on? And these come directly from your thesis, okay? But what order are you going to put them in? What order are you going to explain them in? Once you have that word outline, turn it into a sentence outline. What are you going to say about these concepts? What are the big ideas that you're going to flesh out in your paper as you move through these ideas? Then once you have that sentence outline, you can move into what I call meal paragraphing. This creates your rough draft. You outline your paragraphs using the meal acronym. I'll get into some more detail on that in just a minute. Then you're going to make sure you're using transitions between all of your ideas. Transitions are the glue that really hold your papers together. This number 5 is a very important step. Give yourself time to walk away. This allows your subconscious to keep working on the ideas while you're doing other things, while you're not just, blinders on, super focused on this one thing. You have to be able to take a break and walk away. Writing happens best in segments, and when you've got really complex ideas and perspectives, which is often the case in academic writing, you've got to have the time to walk away. Maybe that's just for half an hour. Maybe that's for a couple of days. Whatever time you've budgeted, walking away is really important to give your brain time to regroup. Then you revisit. And when you revisit, you revise and edit. Revise means to re-see. Are my ideas presented in the most logical order? Have I explained them clearly and fully? This is one of the key places to really engage another set of eyes, whether that's a friend or a writing tutor, a classmate, an instructor, whoever it is. Help them help you re-see it from somebody else's perspective to make sure that your ideas are communicated as effectively as possible. All right, so let's talk about, there's an example of a word outline and a sentence outline, okay? It didn't go all the way into the meal outline, but I just wanted you to see these phrases: demonstrating empathy, empathic and reflective listening, fine-tuning the message, right? All of those are just key ideas that then are going to be explained. Now, sentence outline, those key ideas written into a sentence. What am I going to say about empathic and reflective listening? I'm going to say that nurses must employ empathic and reflective listening to genuinely connect with patients and improve care outcomes. Now, how am I going to develop that into a paragraph? This is where the meal paragraph comes in. So helpful. I learned this actually from an EMU nursing instructor. So just shows to show you that everybody from the most basic beginning writer all the way to the dissertation writer can learn new things about writing that are helpful. The meal paragraph has been transformational. It gives you a template for developing paragraphs. So you've got an idea, great. How are you going to turn that into a paragraph? You're going to have a main idea sentence. You're going to have evidence that supports that main idea. You're going to analyze. You're going to say why that evidence is significant and important, and you're going to link it back to your thesis and forward to your next idea as a transition. Now, one thing to point out, you may have multiple pieces of evidence in one paragraph. That's awesome. The more evidence, often the better, because you're really showing the validity of your idea. But you also have to analyze any piece of evidence that you offer. Don't leave your audience to interpret the evidence for themselves. They may misinterpret it or interpret it differently than you and miss your point altogether, which would be tragic when it comes to writing in the college classroom. So if you use this template, it will be as satisfying as eating the best burger you can imagine. Well, maybe not, but the idea is there anyways. It really will help you write well-developed paragraphs. You can Google any of these concepts. They'll pop up. You'll have additional resources to look at if you just type in meal paragraph, and you can get additional help thinking through this. Again, I'm just introducing you to these ideas so that you have a starting point for this. Okay, so you've got that meal paragraph. Now, any of this as EMU's writing tutor, I can help you with. And I will, at the end of this, talk to you about how to contact me and what that might look like. But let's move on and talk about APA. I'm going to continue to share my screen with you. I'm going to pull up another website. Okay, so hang with me. We're just going to go OWL Purdue APA. OWL Purdue is a great, great website. I am going to show you a sample paper, and let me tell you why. APA is both a style and a system. It is a style that follows certain guidelines, preferences, and rules when it comes to creating graphs and charts, when it comes to talking about your sources, when it comes to how many spaces do I put between my sentences, 1 or 2, what kind of margins do I use, how do I write in a way that uses bias-free language. All of that is encompassed in APA. Way more rules than you could ever memorize, so don't do that, but just know the resources available to you. OWL Purdue is one of them, OWL PURDUE. It's also a system. APA is a system for documenting your resources, documenting your research, making sure that your readers can find the sources that you're using to back up your paper and give yourself greater credibility, okay? So when you are working with sources with APA, you have to create, and you can see this over in this margin over here, in-text citations as well as a reference list. So as you're collecting sources, as you're reading articles, as you're looking at this other information, you have 4 categories of information you need to make sure you have access to for a source. Who wrote it, when it was published, what the name or title of it is, and the publication information. If you have that, it won't matter what kind of source, and you can see all the different source categories over here you will have the information you need. And it's important to know what type of source you're looking at. Are you looking at a book? Are you looking at a print source, an electronic source, something that's audio visual? Okay, one of the most common in academic writing is periodicals that come from journals. So just very quickly, I want to show you. Here is what, let's look at this electronic journal one. Here is what a reference entry is going to look like at the end of your paper. You're going to create a list of all the sources you mentioned in your paper. It's going to look like this with author, last name, and first initial, publication date. Here you've got the title of the article, as well as the title of the journal, volume and issue number, page numbers, and a DOI. Okay, so I know this might seem complicated, but the more you work with it, the more, the easier it's going to feel and the less overwhelming it was going to be. But I just wanted to show you this resource you have available for you. Any kind of source you can find, you can figure out how to create that reference. You also have to have in-text citation. So when you mention the source in your paper, there are specific ways to be able to, I'm actually going to click down here. There are specific ways to be able to show your readers, hey, this is a source that I'm talking about. And you can either do, you can do a sentence citation like this, research by Wegner and Petty, 1994, that's the publication date, supports blah, 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 or you can write your whole sentence and save it and put it at the very end with the author, last name, comma, publication year. If you have a direct quotation, you should also include page numbers in this in-text citation, because again, it's just going to help facilitate for your reader where to find this information, which is really helpful. When you have that in-text citation, it should link to a reference entry, because that in-text citation alerts a reader, hey, I've got some research I can go look at. And that reference entry at the end of the paper shows them how to find it, gives them all the information they would need to look it up. Now, one of the things that is, one of the particular things you'll have to format when it comes to APA is a title page. You can either do a student paper or a professional paper. I think in your case, you're going to be doing a student paper, always a student format. Always check with your instructor. And I want to, actually, oops, just a second here. what I want to show you, and this is information you can access even once this is all finished, is just simple. It has a page number here in the top right corner. It has the title of your paper in bold right there, just a little ways from the top of the paper. It has your name, the department and the university, as well as the course, the instructor, and the date that the paper is submitted. Okay, so pretty simple and straightforward in terms of creating a title page. But it's important to note you need 1-inch margins. You see the placement of everything, and this gives readers that basic information to know what they're getting into when they read your paper. Okay, now those are some of the basics. And if you are actually, you'll see you have the option to download. You can download this paper. When you download it and you open it up, you can see, and well, you can even do it here. You can see it goes beyond the title page. It shows you if you're including an abstract and has all these great annotations. You can see the blue and green and red there that show you and give you insight into how it's formatted and how it's put together and how you can do yours the same way. So there's that. Okay. Man, that is just the tiniest little tip of the iceberg when it comes to APA, but let me give you some additional resources to consult. One of them, and this is one of my primary ones, is going to be the APA Style website. apastyle.apa.org is where you go, and their style and grammar guidelines. Everything APA, directly from the source, definitely can trust it and use it, and you can just see how it's broken down there. That's one of the sources I go to. We've already talked about how OWL Purdue, we've been over here already, has all things APA as well. It's my second go-to resource, highly credible, highly trusted in the academic world. It won't lead you wrong. A third, a third place I often go to is Walden. Walden University actually has a really helpful, comprehensive APA website. So if you haven't found your answer from APA itself or from OWL Purdue, Walden University is another great helpful resource. It even gives you a crash course in APA video if that's something that you would find helpful. They have blog posts on all things APA. So just a super helpful resource that you can check out. Now, finally, I am also one of the resources that you can use here at EMU. It's very simple. Just reach out to me via email. It's Allison, and I'll come back to full screen here. It's Allison at bixby.us, ALLISON at BYXBE.us, Allison at bixby.us. When you reach out to me, tell me what you're working on. Tell me where you are in the process. Email me anything that you already have written. I'll confirm I got your email. I'll say, hey, this is great. I can have feedback to you in X amount of days. Let me know if that works for you. And then you'll say, yes, that sounds great. I'll open up whatever you've sent me in Microsoft Word. I will read through it and use track changes to make edits and give comments and feedback. Shoot that back to you. You get to look at it and integrate that feedback into what you're working on. Sometimes, occasionally, students prefer to do a Zoom or they prefer to do a phone call. I'm open to those as well. And sometimes, depending on where you are in the writing process, a Zoom or a phone call might make more sense. So totally open to that. Do keep in mind that I need usually at least a 48-hour turnaround time to get stuff back to you. And that's also going to fluctuate depending on where in the semester we are. In addition to the writing tutoring I do for EMU, I also teach courses at a local university, and so I have students here as well that I'm working with. And I will always do my best to accommodate you, but the sooner you can get in touch with me, the better, but never hesitate to reach out even if it's last minute, because I may be able to work you in, and I really like to do that when I can. And I'm trying to think so I gave the 48-hour turnaround time. One thing I love to point out to students is, first of all, you have unlimited sessions that EMU allows you to have with me. So literally every writing project, you could reach out and say, Allison, I need your help. Allison, I need your help. And that's great. And I'm willing to do that. But I am also, one of my goals, I am also working myself out of a job with you, because I want to empower you to gain mastery over the writing skills that will make you successful in your college courses. And so what that means is that I'm a writing tutor. I'm not an editor. I'm not going to fix every comma, every period, every misspelled word. I'm not going to do all that. What I am going to do is read through your paper, and I'm going to do line by line edits for about half of your paper, pointing out, hey, I see this issue, or this doesn't seem quite right, or what could we do here to make this more effective? I'm going to give some alternative suggestions to ways to approach those changes. I'm going to give you additional resources to consider. And then it's going to be up to you to implement those suggestions throughout the rest of your paper. And I'm always available at any point beyond that. So you're making changes. Hey, Allison, I took your suggestions and I made these changes. Am I doing it right? Take a look at it. Or you're like, I have zero idea what you mean here. Can you explain it? For sure, I can do that, right? So you can always reach back out to me. But what I'm trying to do is to help you learn mastery of those skills, because that's ultimately what's going to set you up for the most success. So I look forward to hearing from all of you with your writing assignments, so I can help you out. There are additional tutors available through EMU as well, so if I'm ever not available, you could find that contact information on the EMU website as well. So anyways, it was great joining you all tonight. I hope that you have a great rest of your class, and I look forward to hearing from you.